Die, you motherfucker!
And zombies are like, did you feel something? No? Yeah, me neither. I don't know, maybe I suck. It was a sweet game. Resident Evil 2. So Resident Evil 2 is a remake from the ground up of the PlayStation 1 classic Resident Evil 2. Funny they did the ground up thing with 2 and not 1, but 1's gotten a few remakes, reskins, whatever. I was glad to see 2 get some love. That's right, this being a remake, you have the same story as Resident Evil 2. You play as either Leon Kennedy or Claire Redfield. Play this path with Claire, that's one way to play the game. This path with Leon, see what he was doing. I played Claire A and Leon B. I mean, in the PlayStation, you could do Claire A, Leon B, and then Leon A, Claire B. That's essentially 4 paths to play the game. I don't know if the remake does that, but I don't see why it wouldn't. I just haven't done it. I've done Claire A, Leon B. And this is what a remake is supposed to be, that this benefits the game. I mean, Resident Evil 2 for the PlayStation was amazing, and it actually does show in the fact that they didn't change too much up. They updated it, sure, updated the gameplay, updated the graphics, but a lot of the plot you will recognize from the original, the layout. Some of the rooms, I was like, that's the same exact room from the original. So it really shows how great Resident Evil 2 was, where they were like, we don't have to change everything. We just have to bring it to 2019. The camera being over the shoulder, it puts you in the shoes of the character. But like Resident Evil 7, now with Resident Evil 2, I hope Capcom realizes what Resident Evil is, which is not an action game. Keep it survival horror. That's what people love. But when I say you're in the shoes of the characters, man, you are. When the lights are off and you have your flashlights, like, that's more intense than the PlayStation 1 Resident Evil 2 was. And the original Resident Evil 2 had a lot of intense moments. Point is, this remake of the sequel to the game that essentially created a genre. Survival horror, that belongs to Resident Evil. Resident Evil 2 does its own genre proud. And like the original, you gotta conserve your ammo. It's not an action game. I mean, there are a couple of firefights that are hardcore, but some of the enemies, they have weak spots. Okay, how many shots to the head can a zombie take before it ceases to be a zombie and is now a demigod? Shoot him in the head, that's the rule, right? Bullshit! I've shot zombies so many rounds in the head and they live. And that's if I actually end up shooting them, because this game, Uncharted did it also. It's not just me, right? Is this familiar? I got you, motherfucker. All right. And good. Shit. And what the fuck? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But Resident Evil games aren't supposed to be action games. This is not an action game. This is a horror game. It's a puzzle game. It's actually quite cerebral with some of their puzzles. It's Dawn of the Dead meets The Thing. Resident Evil 2 was next level in horror for video games. So I'm glad Resident Evil 2 got this love, and I'm glad this remake, actually elevated it. Not all the weapons are back though. Like Claire doesn't have her crossbow. Not gonna lie, not missing it though. I mean, these things take 7 shots to the head before they die. The crossbow was always kind of a dipshit weapon, so I wasn't missing it. Give me the acid rounds any day. I do like the ammo system where you do find individual ammo, but then you find these ammo components, you can mix them to make the ammo you really need. Helps you kind of form your ammo towards your gameplay style. Best way I've learned to take out a zombie though, you shoot them a couple times in the head. When they drop, go over with the knife and you just fucking shank them. You slash them until you hear that weird gross sound and now they're dead. Only a couple bullets, use a bit of knife, save your ammo. The game's hard, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like, with the amount of shots these enemies take, I was running low on ammo. There's a point in the game where you're like, there's not enough ammo in this game. I'm just gonna die in this police station, which is what it's supposed to feel like. The Tyrant is also in this game. Tyrant was in the original Resident Evil 2. He's in here. He's just this big dude that's just casing the place, looking for you, trying to kill you. Yeah, you can waste some ammo on him. Best to run, because even when he takes a knee and he rests, he ain't down. He's gonna come back for you. And that's the hard lesson this game teaches you. With games like this, I usually like to just annihilate and eliminate everything around me. Every threat has to go down. Resident Evil 2 though, you're like, I need to run. Humbling, absolutely. But it's also realistic because that's how it would go down. I do miss the fact that in the original Resident Evil 2, the Tyrant would just bust through the wall. You're like, oh my God, he's right there. So that's a sacrifice in my eyes. I like the fact this Tyrant would just bust through the wall and wow, unexpected, gotta fight him. From my recollection in the original Resident Evil 2, when you beat him up and he takes a knee, he's kind of gone until he busts through another wall and you gotta face him again. In this game, he's just always there. You could always hear him too. Just ba-doom, ba-doom. The closer you are, the louder his footsteps are. At first, I was like, well, that kind of sucks ass. This guy's just always around. That's annoying. I'll have a goal. He'll be in that room and I can't get the goal. I can't do the puzzle. I can't get the piece. So I gotta like, what, guide him away? Oh, there are lickers there too. Lickers and the tyrant. Are you quiet? Do you stay still so the licker doesn't kill you? Or do you run past him? The licker will attack you, but then you can run from the tyrant. These are the tough choices Resident Evil 2 forces you to make. Correct answer is run the fuck out of there. But on my second playthrough, I was really familiar with the police station. You find the hiding spots that you can go to. He won't actually go into that room. And you just sit there. You sit there like it's a quiet place or something. You're just like... It's pretty damn frightening, and it makes the threat very much alive. So the tyrant not crashing through the wall, surprising the shit out of you just out of nowhere, it felt like a loss to me for that not to be in here. But with that loss, we gain something else, something more, something bigger. And that is a threat that is very much alive because this tyrant is continuously casing this police station. He's always in it. He's always around. Just the threat is always there. You hear the footsteps behind the door. You got to get behind the door. Don't go another way. Find another way. Now, I don't know if it's because of the edition I got or a pre-order bonus, but I could select the original PlayStation soundtrack. Like the music from the PlayStation 1 game could play in the game just normally, organically. And I'll be completely honest, I left it on the PlayStation 1 soundtrack because it's a great soundtrack. It's really appealing. It mixes well with the tone. It has that PlayStation 1 synthesized tone going on for horror. I bathed in nostalgia. Give me that PlayStation 1 soundtrack. It was awesome. Also, there are variant costumes I got with Leon. I just kept him as is. Claire Redfield got the Elsa Walker outfit. I just kept that outfit on Claire Redfield the entire time because down with the thickness. I'm just being real. Anyone who did that playing the game, you're like, yeah, no. He's right. The thing that's really cool in one hand, but kind of a bummer in the other because they didn't do more with it, is the fact that this Resident Evil 2 remake, like the original, it has two paths. My first playthrough, path A, was with Claire, so when I'm talking about this, when I say Claire, that's what I mean. You play through with Claire, you meet up with Leon. Leon's doing something else. What's he doing? You beat it with Claire, then you unlock Leon's run. I think they call it the second run. So after you beat it with Claire, you play that unlocked mode, and then you see what Leon was doing. Sounds really cool. The maps are the same, but the paths are different. Also, they have two very different end bosses. You have to beat the game with both to get the true ending, but I wish the two scenarios were more interconnected. I wish what I did in Claire's playthrough affected what happened in Leon's playthrough. And if you don't do that, at least don't have me fight the same sub-boss. Like with Claire, there's a scenario where William Birkin, or G, they just call it G, it's the monster, is like trying to stab me through the ceiling. His fucking man claws coming through and he's just trying to kill me. By the end of this scenario, this ceiling is just wrecked, which sounds great. And then I got there with Leon, I had to do the same thing. Ceiling was fine, he's trying to stab me and kill me through the ceiling, and then the ceiling was wrecked. The fact that I have to go through that scenario with both characters makes it feel compartmentalized. If the scenario was how it's supposed to be, which is you play through with Claire, then you see what Leon was doing. When you're Leon in the second run and you come through that room, the room should be just destroyed. You're like, what the fuck happened here? But as it stands, I had to do the same thing with both characters in the same room with the same sub-boss, which makes them feel unlinked. And it doesn't really make much sense to me if I'm playing two paths that are happening parallel to each other. But my Leon path definitely had its own stuff, like the crocodiles in it. Didn't run into that with Claire. That was a Leon specific thing for me. So I'm glad they have their differences. I just wish they didn't have some of the things that were the same. But those are like nitpicks. Those are the wishful things. Like, oh, I wish they had done that. Doesn't take away from the fact that what they did with this game was great. It took me back in all the right nostalgic ways, but also stands on its own as its own great game. It in and of itself is a great horror game, a great survival horror game. Creepy atmosphere, fantastic tone. The game isn't really that long. My first playthrough with Claire took me about 8 hours. And that was still me figuring out the layout. Then with Leon, it took me about 6.5 or 7 hours. Put them together, even then, it's not a very long game, but it's damn enjoyable. We can't all be the Olympus Mons of video games, which is Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, I haven't even beaten that because it's daunting at a point. You're like, it's so much. Sometimes you want a fantastic game to enjoy yourself with, maybe scare the shit out of you and won't take up all of your time. Resident Evil 2 is totally that. And Resident Evil 2, the remake and the original, but for the sake of this review, the remake is awesome-tacular. Great tone, great horror, fun game, time efficient. All right, so Resident Evil 2, have you played it? What did you think about it? How does it compare to the original for you? Whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.